So I have this board, which is not the original board that I used, but I wanted to show you this technique and I had lost my video. So I started by applying some Wise Owl chocolate paint, and then I add some water to it. That's what's in my spray bottle, and it just thins the paint out. And this is just a good alternative to stain if you do not have any of the General Finishes antique gel stain that we use. This is another option. After you spray the water, it thins it out. You can apply it to the entire board, and then I just take a piece of paper towel and rub it in. And it basically gives you the same appearance of some stain. And you can thin the paint out as much as you want, depending on how dark or light you want your stain. So here's the original board I did that to. And this is about a 24 by 6 inch board I got from Hobby Lobby. And I have this adhesive mesh stencil that came from Michael's. And it says, "Welcome to our beautiful chaos." And I just centered it on my board. And when I was happy with the placement, I just rubbed it down so that it would adhere to my surface. I'm going to use some Wise Owl Snow Owl in my foam dabber. And sometimes I can just rub over the mesh stencil. You do not have to go in a dabbing motion with these mesh stencils. And once everything was fully covered where I wanted it, I lifted it up. And as you can see, these mesh stencils are great to work with. You barely have any bleeding at all. And I was really happy with how this came out. I have these small picture frames. I got them from the Dollar Tree. They are 2 by 3 inch. And I'm just going to remove all the backs. Now, they were white to begin with, and they are like a plastic, so I did not do any top coat before applying the chocolate paint. But what I did is I uncovered the entire frame with Wise Owl chocolate, and then I took a baby wipe and wrapped it around my finger. And I'm just going to wipe off on the flat surface. And you can see how the chocolate stays in any of the grooves or raised areas on the picture frame. And I'm basically just kind of giving it a little bit of an antique look. So I want that brown chocolate paint to stay in some of that detail. So I did that to all of the picture frames. And again, you're just going to cover the entire picture frame with the chocolate Wise Owl paint, and then you take your baby wipe and you just lightly rub over any areas that you do not want the chocolate paint. And because this was plastic already, I did not need a top coat because it was a slick surface. It just rubbed right off. And then I'm going to top coat that with the Wise Owl 1 Hour Enamel Clear so that the brown paint does not chip off. Once everything was dry, I went back to my board, and starting on the left side, I'm just going to make 2 little lines, kind of the size of the picture frame. And then I'm going to take my drill gun and just drill 2 holes right where I had marked. Now, the back side of this board is hollow, so I took some jute and I strung it through the hole that I created, and then I tied a knot so that the jute hangs from the bottom of the board. Just like that. And then I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to glue my picture frame to the jute. So you can cut this as short or as long as you want. You can make them all go even across the board, or you can stagger them. It's really up to you. So I took my picture frame and some hot glue, and I'm just going to glue the back of the picture frame and adhere it to the hanging jute. I left about 1.5 inches exposed from the bottom of the board, and I'm going to stick with that measurement so that they're all even going across my board. And I just adhered both pieces of jute to the back side of the frame. And then for my second frame, I went all the way to the right side and made my markings, drilled my 2 holes, and did the same thing with the jute. When you string it through, you want to tie a knot so that the jute is hanging from the bottom of the board. Now, if you want to get real decorative, you can add some small wood beads to the jute. You can use wire. You can use other materials as well. I just kept it simple and used the jute. And you want to tie your knot big enough so that it does not slip through the hole that you drilled. And before I attach my second picture frame, I want to make sure that I go down the same amount as I did on the first one so that everything's hanging at the same spot. And I'm using the hot glue to adhere it to the jute. You can also use some E6000. That's a really good industrial strength glue, which will adhere to most materials. I got my finger protectors from the Dollar Tree. They came a pack of 3 in 1 for $1, and I use them especially for smaller projects where my finger will be touching the hot glue. And then I repeated that for the other two as well. So I like to do my 2 outer frames, and then I figured out the measurements to make everything look pretty even for the 2 middle frames. And once everything was attached, I took a nailless sawtooth hanger and just hung it on the back. And there we go. Now you can fill your picture frames with your favorite pictures. And this is just a really easy welcome to our beautiful chaos sign. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Paint products, tissue paper, transfers, and mesh stencils can all be found on our webpage at chalkitupfancy.com. And don't forget, you can also check out other tutorials on our webpage. Have a great day.